hounding her and going all over her because of this. It's just downright despicable. And I think that's really where the focus ought to be now, moving forward, is on the media. Because we can look at everything else, right? We can look at the policy type stuff, which is boring and all that. But really, I feel, at the end of the day, if you're not fixing and you're not focusing on the role that the media is playing, if you're not focusing on all these little stories where it's outright lies, or they're manipulating the language, or they're going after and harassing people and targeting people like this, because this is just one example of it, but there's another example in my friend Sean McCaffrey. There's a perfect one, where it's not just they'll go after anybody, but they'll go after you forever. That's the concern with a girl like this. 10 years ago, you would say, well, maybe you shouldn't put a video out like that because it's not a good look. It's not a great look. And, maybe an employer will find that and they won't like it or something. Now the concern is you do something like that and you have to live with it forever, because a journalist will be assigned to you and they will follow you for decades, and they will go to your employer if your employer doesn't find it. They will go to a political campaign. They will go to your family. They will go to your friends. They'll go to your significant others. They'll go to everybody you know and tell them about it. That's why this is such a concern now. So for people that say, oh, well, she shouldn't be on there in the first place. Yeah, but why? Why do you think that is? People don't understand how the ecosystem works, that you literally get somebody assigned. You have Right Wing Watch, you have Media Matters, and then you have the general mainstream media. And the way it works, you think Jared Holt is a small-time sort of a guy. Yeah, he is. He probably makes a pittance doing what he does for a living. He's 20-some years old, a college grad, and he's probably, I would imagine, like broke. I would imagine he's probably poor, living in Washington, D.C., the way the rent is there, and getting paid by Right Wing Watch. I mean, he's a total loser. But don't discount and underestimate the importance of people like this. His beat, the whole career that he has, and it's paid for by people like George Soros directly. It's funded by a nonprofit, basically, right? The whole reason that he's out there is so that he can look out and he can watch the people with 1,000 YouTube subscribers, the people with 100 followers on Twitter. He can know Sean McCaffrey and Beardson and people like myself and Soph and others by name, people that exist in this little niche. And so he's assigned and he gets paid. He's assigned to these people. And when he reports on it, then it trickles up a little bit to Media Matters. Media Matters, another nonprofit, another George Soros left-wing rag. They're small time. Your average person doesn't know anything about them or maybe hasn't heard about them. But it'll go from an organization from like Right Wing Watch or another small-time one. It'll trickle up to Media Matters. Media Matters reports on it. And that's where all the left-wing organizations get their sources. Huffington Post, Salon, Slate, whoever it is. So it goes to Media Matters and then it blows up. And then all the other organizations pick it up. And then a bigger one will write up on it, like the Huffington Post, a more household name. Huffington Post writes up on it, then it makes its way up, ultimately, if it's a big enough story, to NBC, or it makes it to Fox News. I've seen Fox News use Media Matters before, and Huffington Post and things like that. It makes its way to the big ones, right? And even if it doesn't make it all the way there, because 9 times out of 10 it doesn't. You don't hear about one of our stories going all the way up the food chain. Sometimes it does. Sometimes, like in the case of PewDiePie, they're writing about it in the Wall Street Journal or in a few isolated cases. But typically, and this is what is, I think, a little bit worse, this is where it's a little bit more subversive and a little bit more quiet and whatever, is it doesn't even have to get up to the big mainstream sources to have an effect, because you'll find that congressional secretaries, and you'll find that a lot of people that are making studies and a lot of people that are writing the basis for laws and academia and things like this, they're reading the left-wing sources. So when you see, and you'll see this a lot, a study about white nationalism on the rise, or hate crimes on the rise, or anti-Semitism on the rise, or some statistics about how YouTube has to change their policies, it's coming from these people. And as a result of these studies and these reports, which are always based on lies, and it's always totally irresponsible, and it's always funded by left-wing political advocacy, as a result of these reports, you see big policy changes at Google, and you see big policy changes at the level of state and national government. And that's the way that they're purging us. So people will say, oh, you really think they're coming to get you? I had a famous quote from a couple of years ago. I said something, I was caught off the record on a hidden camera saying that, certain people are out to get me. People say, oh, you really think, they're coming for you? It's a totalitarian state? Yes, because this is the way the cadre has been assembled of journalists to look out for any little bit of dissent. You know, when you see Jared Holt, he doesn't go after, people like Soph. He goes after people with, 100 live viewers doing a stream about QAnon. And he knows them all by name. And he knows, if there's 5 people who claim to be in the KKK leading a march in the Arkansas state capitol, he's on it. He's reporting on it. And every one of these little stories finds its way in there into the big report. I'm sure you can bank on it that some functionary at Facebook or YouTube or in a congressional office is reading it, and they're drafting policy, and it's changing our lives. And it's making it harder for us to spread the truth about what's happening. And so I think, we can look at all these media incidents. And what new thing can we say about it? The media doesn't report on black and white crime. Hello, welcome to the 21st century. This has been going on for 30 years.